All right, everybody, welcome back. We are doing another deep dive today, and this time we are looking at the story behind the Nintendo Wii.
Ooh, very cool.
Yeah, this should be fun. And specifically, how one particular designer kind of had his own unique approach to things, which actually ended up making the Wii as popular as it was.
Interesting.
So our source material is wife.pdf.
Okay.
It's a document by a professor at the University of Illinois, Chicago.
Cool.
And get ready for the wife-o-meter.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of the wife-o-meter?
The wife-o-meter. I can't say I have no...
Well, we're going to find out all about the wife-o-meter today and how it basically revolutionized gaming.
All right, looking forward to it.
Yeah. What's really interesting about this is that, it's just kind of a silly idea, this wife-o-meter.
Right.
But it really did, change the entire industry. And I think it just kind of goes to show you how sometimes the best ideas come from just taking a step back and not following the normal way of doing things.
Absolutely. I think that's a great point. A lot of times in any industry, we can get caught up in the weeds and doing things the way they've always been done.
Yeah.
And it takes that kind of outside perspective or that fresh look to really shake things up.
Right. So Shigeru Miyamoto,
Okay.
he's the guy behind Donkey Kong Mario.
Yeah, yeah.
All the big Nintendo franchises. He was the brains behind those. And, back in 2006, the gaming industry was all about, who has the best graphics?
Right.
Who can push the most polygons?
Yeah, the technology was the thing.
The technology was the main selling point. And he didn't want to do that. He wanted to do something different. He wanted to reach people who didn't normally play video games.
So basically what you're saying is that he kind of bucked the trend. He saw that everybody was going in this one direction, trying to one-up each other with technology.
Yep.
And he took a step back and he said, you know what, there's a whole market of people who aren't being served right now.
Yeah.
That's really brilliant.
And so he came up with the wife-o-meter. And basically, how appealing is this game to my wife who does not play video games?
So his wife was his test subject,
Exactly.
his focus group of one.
Exactly. So, if his wife thought that the game was fun, then he knew that he was on to something.
And so I'm curious. I want to know more about this wife-o-meter. So, what were some of the early games that were, measured by the wife-o-meter?
So he noticed his wife liked dogs.
Okay.
And so he made Nintendogs.
Oh, that's a classic.
It was a virtual pet simulator. It did well. It did well.
That makes a lot of sense, though. I mean, dogs are pretty universally loved, so that's a good starting point.
But it didn't fully satisfy the wife-o-meter.
Okay, so it moved the needle, but it didn't hit the top.
It didn't hit the top.
Okay.
But then he kept going.
Yeah.
And he came up with Brain Age.
Okay.
Which was a game that was initially targeted towards older adults in Japan.
Okay.
To help them keep their minds sharp.
Right, I've heard of this one, yeah.
And it was a huge hit. It was a huge hit, and it turned his wife into a gamer.
So he finally hit the top of the wife-o-meter.
He finally hit the top of the wife-o-meter with Brain Age.
Okay.
And he even said that, Donkey Kong was more likely to be at their dinner table than his wife playing a video game.
That's funny.
But Brain Age, she was all about it.
That's great. And I think, what's interesting about that is that, you would think that a game like Brain Age, which was targeted towards older adults, would be very niche.
Yeah.
But the fact that it was such a big hit, I think it just shows that, there's a universal desire for self-improvement.
Right.
And there's something appealing about, keeping your mind sharp.
Yeah, and I think, the way that it was designed, it was very simple to pick up and play.
Right.
And so even if you weren't a gamer, you could still enjoy it.
Exactly. And that, I think that speaks to the power of user-centered design.
Right.
Like you were saying earlier, he was really focused on who he was designing for and making sure that it was something that they would enjoy.
And so while this is all happening, Nintendo's competitors, they were kind of going the other direction. They were making consoles that could do all kinds of things, play music, stream videos.
Okay.
But Nintendo was just focused on gaming. That's all they wanted to do. And this allowed them to kind of take risks that other companies weren't willing to take.
I see.
And one of those risks was the Wii Remote.
Ah.
Which is a completely new way to control video games.
Yeah, that was revolutionary.
You weren't using buttons anymore. You were actually using your body to control the game.
Right. Swinging your arm and...
Swinging your arm.
Yeah, it was very intuitive.
It was intuitive, and it allowed game designers to do all kinds of new things.
And it opened up gaming to a whole new audience.
Exactly.
For people who might have been intimidated by traditional contrrollers.
Yeah.
They could pick up the Wii Remote and just start playing.
And Miyamoto really wanted to emphasize that human touch. He wanted games that brought people together.
I like that.
He wanted games that made you laugh and talk and have fun with other people.
And you can definitely see that philosophy in a lot of the games that were made for the Wii.
Like Wii Sports.
Yeah.
Like, that became such a huge phenomenon.
Oh, yeah. Everybody was playing Wii Sports, bowling, and tennis and all that.
Exactly. It was a game that you could play with your grandma.
Right. Exactly.
Didn't matter what your age was or your skill
Yeah.
level, you could still have fun with it.
And I think that's something that often gets lost in the pursuit of technological advancement.
Right.
Like sometimes we forget that technology should be about enhancing our lives
Yeah.
and connecting us with other people.
And that's exactly what the Wii did.
Absolutely.
You know, it wasn't about having the most powerful console on the market.
Mhm.
It was about having the most fun.
Right.
And I think that's a really important lesson to keep in mind.
Yeah. I agree. I think it's easy to get caught up in the specs and the numbers.
Right.
But ultimately what matters is the experience that you're creating.
So I think the takeaway from all of this is that, Miyamoto's unconventional approach, driven by this idea of the waifu-meter, really did revolutionize the gaming industry.
And it brought joy to millions of people.
And it really highlights the power of thinking outside the box and, not being afraid to do something different.
Yeah, and the waifu meter, it's a funny name.
Yeah.
But it really encapsulates this profound idea, which
Yeah.
is that, if you want to create something truly great, you need to understand your audience.
You need to put yourself in their shoes
Yeah.
and think about what they want
Yeah.
and what they need.
Exactly.
So as we kind of wrap up here, I want to leave you with this question.
Okay.
What is your waifu-meter?
That's a good question.
What is the thing that you can use to kind of challenge the conventions in your field?
Right, right.
Don't be afraid to look for inspiration in unexpected places.
Yeah, because like we were saying earlier, sometimes the best ideas come from the most unexpected places.
So keep your mind open, stay curious, and don't be afraid to challenge the status quo.
Some great advice.
You never know what you might discover.
Well, on that note, I think we've done a pretty good deep dive here.
I think so too.
I learned a lot.
Me too.
Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you all next time.
All right, see you later.
Bye.